Hey, what's up guys? This is Game on Cloud 9 here, and just a few hours ago prior to the recording of this video, we have the first trailer drop at San Diego Comic-Con for the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. Now, if you haven't been living under a rock, you already know Broly, he's kind of canon now, and I'm telling you, I'm stoked because even though it may not be the exact same Broly that we all knew, the whole concept of Broly, you can't tell me you don't love that. I mean, the grit, the screaming.
Do it, Broly!
Yes, it can be kind of cliche, but come on now. Broly is that one fan-made character that we all have that love for, that just we love to see smash on our, of course, our favorite Z fighters and just go nuts. Now, one of the things that I think really stands out about this trailer is, of course, the end of it. And if you haven't seen the trailer, please make sure you go ahead and check it out. You're not going to want to miss that. But at the end of the trailer, we see what looks like a Saiyan in a pod, of course, or a test tube hooked up to some device. Now, I know that's led some people out there to believe that maybe this is just some sort of Saiyan genetic modification, which is why we got the Broly that we're seeing in this movie, where, you know, he's obviously possesses an even higher level of power than the Broly that we knew, but still has the whole concept of raging out and has a lot of power. But I'm gonna go take this a step even further. What if this isn't just like a genetically modified Broly, but what if this Broly was actually a clone or something that was actually created from scratch by Frieza? Now, I know there's probably a few of you guys out there who might even be thinking this, but I'm going to take this an even step further. And how I'm going to do that is actually going to be explaining what we've seen from Frieza prior to in other arcs. Now, of course, everything that we gotten in Dragon Ball Super we know is new material that Akira Toriyama has come up with way after the end of Z. But if he wants to definitely try to connect everything together, I think the best way to do that would be going all the way back to the Namek saga, or the Frieza saga, if you will. If you remember back in the Frieza saga, we know Frieza feared the power of a Super Saiyan. He, it was the one thing that they kind of hyped up that could put Frieza down. And we know Vegeta talked about becoming a Super Saiyan. So I think it would be a lot better if Frieza had encountered the power of a Saiyan prior to meeting them. I think it would add to a lot more of the lore, and I think it would give Frieza even more personal connection to why he knew or felt the power of a Saiyan and why he feared the Saiyans even more. Now, of course, we know that Beerus had instructed Frieza to bring the destruction of planet Vegeta, so that's also a thing too, but presuming Akira Toriyama hasn't retconned that whole concept of Frieza being scared of the Saiyans at one point, I definitely think it would be a lot better if we had it be a case where Frieza had seen the power of the Saiyans, wanted to create a Saiyan himself, and instead of them just being another warrior with his army thinking that, oh, okay, they're strong, he got to see firsthand how powerful Saiyans could become. So it made what Beerus said to do even easier for him to do. Obviously, Frieza doesn't care anything about the Saiyans, but it's like, hey, you know what? I don't even care about losing them as precious army cargo or, warriors, because at this point, they could really be the end of me if I let more of them get out like that guy. And maybe he tried to do away with Broly. Maybe he thought he got away with the project, and then thus we have the situation we have here. Or it could even be a case where maybe he was kind of put away like a science experiment that, hey, I can't control it right now, let's just put it down for now. That's one theory or thought that I'm thinking that maybe they could go ahead and do. The next theory I think would be very interesting and actually would connect it a lot closer to the Turban of Power is, what if Frieza, after encountering Kale and the other Saiyans in the Turban of Power, decides to actually create his own version of Kale, so to speak, if you will. I mean, we all know that Frieza, of course, hates Goku, hates Vegeta, but he knows that these Saiyans aren't slouches. He knows that they're powerful, and we know that he's used them before in his army. So who's to say that it would put it past him to actually take the time to have a scientist? In this case, you could make it Paragus, because there's nothing's saying exactly that Paragus has to be a Saiyan for this particular movie. I mean, yes, you could say the pun, so most likely he is, but if he's not, then I'm gonna go more with the idea that he's just a scientist that is closely tied with this project working for Frieza, and he's trying to, of course, engineer their own version of Kale, from what we've seen in that trailer. Now, I'm not sure if there's any information that's confirmed of him being a Saiyan or not for this movie, since this is a reboot of Paragus' character. Go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong down below, but I'm gonna go more on a limb and say that I think that it would be more interesting and actually be something that I'm going to kind of place, not my money, but place my small little bet on, that I think that Paragus and Frieza created their own original Broly. So they actually cloned a Broly. Now you might say, well, they cloned him at determined power. How could Broly be the age that he is right now? Now, if you don't know anything about cloning, one thing that if you look at real life, clones generally age a lot faster or quicker than that of their original counterpart. So I think it would make sense also if this version of, let's say, like a genetically modified Kale along with maybe Paragus' DNA in this case, or someone else's DNA, could be, just an aged up version. Now, you could say they don't really look a lot alike, so maybe we can go with that. Like, okay, true. But I'm just going to go out on a limb and say I really think that this has a lot to do with what Frieza saw in the Turban of Power, especially since the first thing you hear mentioned in the trailer is Whis asking Goku how he felt about everything after the Turban of Power. And if you notice also in the trailer, we see Frieza is one of the main major fights, one of the three major fights in the movie. The first one is Vegeta versus Broly, then the next one they show is Frieza versus Broly, and then Goku versus Broly. So I think it would connect it all together even more. And then they also push the fact, just hear me out on this, guys, that Broly is this unknown Saiyan. They really push that throughout the trailer. So you would think, why doesn't Beerus know about Broly? Why doesn't, Beerus was asleep, okay, I hear you. But then why wouldn't Whis know about Broly, Why wouldn't, Supreme Kai know about Broly? Now, we haven't gotten confirmation of that, but they're really pushing the idea that no one else really knew about him other than the people that are in Broly's circle, and that Broly is some experiment that is found. So, I'm gonna go with either A, Frieza had created Broly, or had Broly created, I should say, because I don't think Frieza is some masterful scientist on some Orochimaru Naruto type stuff. But I'm gonna say either A, Frieza had a hand in creating Broly from scratch prior to back in the way back and before the destruction of planet Vegeta, and he was just a science experiment put off on the side. Or B, Frieza had a hand in creating him after the Turban of Power. But I think Frieza created Broly from scratch. I don't think Broly was just some Saiyan that was picked up and they just kind of modified him a little bit. I think there was more to it than that. I think that he was created to be, I guess, if so to speak, that legendary perfect super Saiyan, if you were, that legendary warrior, and this is the result of it. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's something that I would like to see, but we'll see what happens. There's a lot more trailers that have to be released, of course. So there's probably a lot more that's going to change. But for now, that's the theory I'm sticking to. And I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Just drop your opinions. Also, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell if you haven't hit that bell.